Hello guys and welcome back to another video. Today we will be reviewing Lego Atlantis Wave 3, the final 5 sets of the Lego Atlantis series. We will take an in-depth look at each of their functions, minifigures, and builds, seeing how they compare with a modern look. And finally, we'll compare this wave to the other two that came before it, as well as have an overview of the entire series. With that being said, like and subscribe if you do enjoy, and let's get into it. The smallest Lego Atlantis set from the third wave is the 7976 Ocean Speeder, and it contains 54 pieces. This is also the only Lego Atlantis set my brother and I still have the box for, as it is the most recent one that we acquired to finish the collection. Included is the speeder itself, one diver minifigure, and a side build with the chalice. The one minifigure included in this set is Axel Storm, and he has the new Lego Atlantis outfit for Wave 3, which includes yellow fins, yellow arms instead of green, a yellow visor, and a light gray scuba tank setup instead of a dark gray one like the last series. They also have these metallic silver guns instead of the usual black. His face, just like the other Axel Storms, are exactly the same. He has a smiling expression on the front, and in the back, he has one of concern for an alternate face. Here is some of the printing under, which looks slightly different than before. It has a different setup with tubes and a bunch of spots for accessories that they can grab, and on the front, similarly, it has a design with 2 tubes, and then on the bottom it has a pressure meter and the Atlantis cruise symbol, which is a pretty neat detail. Overall, while I do like the new design for the Atlantis crew, I definitely prefer the green and dark gray that they had in the original 2 waves. The side build included is a small structure, including a snake and a chalice with some seaweed on the side. It is a very simple build, and one of the crystals in the set is placed into the chalice so it can sit there while not being grabbed by the machine. Before I review the Ocean Speeder, I do want to note that whoever built this set before us, because we got it on eBay, put these stickers on both sides backwards, but that's okay. They still have some nice detail, and if they were the right direction, they would fit the set nicely. The set itself has some posability, with the fins being able to tilt down and up as you please. You also have 2 arms right here, one including a red crystal and another which is open, and you can always put the chalice or the white crystal in here if you want. It has 2 propellers on the back, which can be positioned at 2 places, being this to change the direction up and down, and of course you can spin it however you want. Finally, you have the spot for the diver, which is some handles, which you can turn his hands to the side and slide it on, so you have the diver riding the small Ocean Speeder. For the smallest set of the wave, the speeder is a good simple build with some nice slopes and a bit of posability to have some functionality with it. Compared to some of the other small vehicles in the wave, this definitely seems more fleshed out, and you can see it with the final product. With that being said, we're now on to the next set of the wave. The next set in Lego Atlantis Wave 3 is the 7977 Seabed Strider, containing 105 pieces. It contains the Seabed Strider itself, a diver minifigure, a hammerhead shark Atlantis warrior, and a small stand with an Atlantean shield. This diver minifigure is exactly the same except for the face, this time it being Lance Spears. He has a concentrated first face, and the other face is one of fear. This set also includes a hammerhead shark warrior, which is one of the best minifigures in this entire series. It has printing on this top part, which has the hammerhead itself with the Atlantean triangle symbol at the top and then some other designs. This follows through for the printing on the torso and legs. It is an all dark gray color scheme with light gray and some tan blue highlights. It wields a golden trident, and it has this great minifigure head inside of it, which has a translucent red minifigure head with a bunch of teeth and 2 eyes. What a great piece, and something that you can use for a lot more mocks than just this. Altogether, the hammerhead looks super nice, and is one of my favorite minifigures of the wave. This is the stand that contains the Atlantean shield. It is a simple build with only 5 pieces and the shield itself. which has a teal coloring but includes some nice details with the trident and the triangle symbol. While it is a simple build, this gives the factions something to fight over, which helps in playability. This is the Seabed Strider. In its hands are two collectible crystals, this time in light blue and orange, which have not appeared in any other set, so that's nice to get. It has these harpoons on the side with some grill details around the main base. It has these handlebars where you can take your Lance Spears minifigure and attach him so he can ride it. It also has two propellers that you can spin and fins with which you can angle. Then it has its two legs, which it is hard to get this to walk, but you can get some goofy poses to do so. It also has a transformation feature where you pull these up, push the fins down, and move the legs, folding them back. You can have them straight out like this, but I also like moving them in one and then having them kind of protect the diver from all angles. The Seabed Strider, even in this form, is a great build. It still looks good even when it's transformed, and that's always a plus because sometimes it doesn't. I think there's a lot of fun you can have with this set, but it could be improved if the bottom parts of the legs, including this joint right here and the ankle joint itself, had the newer Mixel style ball joints, as they can give it some extra posability and make it look like it can actually walk. It's a fun set overall, the only other downside being the amount of stickers it has, which I don't think is too much of an issue, but that's another thing to keep into consideration. Now, let's move on to the next set. The third set in this wave is 7978, the Angler Attack, which has 201 pieces. This set includes the Anglerfish Atlantean Warrior, a diver minifigure, a small vehicle for the diver, and a side build containing a column and a chest. The minifigure in this set is Dr. Jeff Fisher, and he is exactly the same as all the others, except he has a camera in the set with a clear 1x1 circular tile as a lens. Mine is actually slightly misprinted, as the front head is much lower than it should be. You can see this by turning it to the side and seeing the difference between the two. It's not a big deal, but it looks goofy when he has his helmet because you can see most of his forehead. The front face is pretty standard, and the back has one of shock. The second minifigure in the set is the Anglerfish Atlantean Warrior, which looks great and is another fine addition to the Atlantean minifigures that you can collect. He wields a golden trident and uses a tan green color scheme with some dark green highlights. Most of it is the molded piece right here, which has the anglerfish mouth using two of these small teeth pieces as the lower jaw's giant teeth, and it has orange eyes which are painted on, as well as the fins on the back and a small tail at the end. It also has some lower jaw details, but it does have these spots for the teeth that are visible from the underside, but it's not the biggest deal. Inside there is a mouth, but to really see it you have to take this off, and it has some extra printing on the front with the mouth here, and sometimes through the hole in the anglerfish mold you can see the mouth from inside, and it's a really nice look. It has no back printing and the legs are completely plain, but altogether it's a really nice minifigure because of this molded piece which brings it all together. The vehicle for this set is the small diving sub. It has one arm on this side and a harpoon on the other side. It has a propeller that spins, and of course you can slip the driver onto the handlebars. There are a lot of smaller vehicles in this wave, but I don't mind it too much as we've gotten a lot of larger ones, so it's nice to have some small ones, especially when the set isn't focusing on the build here itself. Other than that, the stickers look really nice, and we actually put them on the right way this time, so that's a plus. The terrain side build includes a small platform with a chest, a fallen column, and some seaweed. The column can be moved to different angles, but I think it looks best all the way down. The chest contains two crystals, one green and one blue, which you can't really see with the light, but it also contains the helmet from the Atlantean Warrior from the Portal to Atlantis set, and I think it's a fine addition to include this because it's a rare part, and getting another one is really cool. Now, the Anglerfish. This build is an interesting one. I think it's pretty good, but there are some flaws that make me not like it as much as I could have. One of the main ones is the use of the red pieces other than the mouth. Like up here, there's a red piece connecting the lore of the anglerfish, and 3 red pieces being the ones that connect the lore to the base and the 2 eyes. They really stand out, and I don't know why they didn't include them in a different color, because they had a gray version of this red piece right here used for the column back there. They probably could have done another color, but it doesn't detract too much from the set. Other than that, this is a very compact build, but there are some exposed technique as well, like this part right here to make the function work. The actual build itself is pretty nice. It has a couple of functions, like the tail being able to move and rotate. It also has fins on both sides, which can move on this connection point. The stickers here actually have some weird texture. I don't know, it might just be the age, but it kind of feels like they tried to give it some texture to represent fish scales, and it feels a little different than the other stickers included in something like back here, which is a pretty nice detail, and it has the Atlantis symbol to match. This is also the only Atlantis creature, to my knowledge, that appears in a different color other than black. Obviously, they have the secondary colors, which this one has the secondary light green color, but it doesn't have a black main color, which is interesting. There are 2 fins used up here for the top fins of the anglerfish, and these come from the diver minifigures, which I think is a pretty good use, but it does look different on either side, so this is definitely the more appealing side to look at. The lure is used using a whip piece and a light green crystal to have an illuminant light for the anglerfish to trap prey. The eyes are well done, as they are a flat 4x4 round circular piece with a 2x2 dome inside, capped off by a 4x4 dome. They have a unique look, and I think they're a highlight of the set. Finally, there is the mouth itself, which has a play feature using this technique right here, which holds it into place and allows it to open up and then jump back in like it's attacking really quick. You can put a minifigure in there and have it get trapped by the mechanism, and it's a fun play feature to have. You can also move the upper jaw up and down a little bit, but if you move it too far down, you can reveal some unneeded colored pieces inside, so you rather keep it up. You can also adjust both sides of the eyes to however you want to give it a different look, but I think the angled one pressed as close as it can into the front jaw is the best look. The mouth also has some detail for a tongue, and it has 1 golden tooth, which you can always use as another item for the diver to collect after it defeated this creature. Overall, the Angler Attack is a fun monster build for this series. It represents the deep sea vibe that they're going for, and I'm glad they have it, though I wish it could have had some slight improvements to make it even better. It is still a solid addition to the line. Now, onto the 4th set. The 4th LEGO set is 7984, the Deep Sea Raider, and it contains 265 pieces. Included is the Deep Sea Raider, a diver minifigure, a hammerhead Atlantean warrior, and a terrain build with another chest and column. The diver minifigure in the set is unique based off of his face alone. Every other part has been used or seen in another set previously. And this face is interesting as it is a completely new one, and this guy has a eye patch with some advanced gadgetry on his face, as well as a gray mustache. On the back, he actually has no alternate face, which is also weird since this is the first minifigure of this guy we are seeing, and we just don't have an alternate face either, which is odd. Once again, we have a hammerhead shark Atlantean warrior, which looks great as I previously stated. He wields a golden trident, has the great molded piece and the fun head inside, and some printing on his torso and legs to complete the look. The terrain build includes another column and chest combo. This one has a taller column with a crab and some seaweed on top, which that crab is a nice piece to include, and another animal in the wave to collect. There is some seaweed on the ground, and the chest includes 3 crystals, 1 clear, 1 red, and 1 blue, and then the chest piece for the Atlantean warrior that guarded the portal to Atlantis. And once again, this piece is great to get as it is a rare piece, and getting a second version of this armor is also nice to collect. The Deep Sea Raider is a substantial sub for the Atlantis crew. This is a one-person manned vessel, and it has a lot of play features. The first arm has a ratchet joint, which you can move in most directions, but it is hinged to certain points based off the mechanism that's inside. It also has a ball joint for the hand, which has 3 fingers to grab with. On the directions itself, it shows you grabbing the column off of the terrain, but you can also put a minifigure like the shark inside and have it being grabbed and thrown around by the sub. The other side contains a drill, which reminds me greatly of Power Miners, especially since there's a theory that that minifigure is actually a Power Miners guy, so having this drill is more evidence to that. You can turn the drill by spinning the red column at the back. It has a translucent orange tip and has that same ratchet joint, so you can move it in many different angles. Each arm has an H2O sticker with some caution tape, as well as some grates and a valve to add more detail. The front of the ship has a similar look to the Atlantis HQ, as it has a guard for the actual canopy itself. This one uses hot dogs, which is an interesting look to create this rounded edge going up the front. It also has the Atlantean symbol at the top and can be opened up by lifting it forward. Then you can lift the canopy itself to reveal the cockpit, and this is a pretty simple cockpit, but it has enough space for your minifigure to put inside and 2 controls for him to use. There are some stickers down here, but once again, my brother and I put them upside down because we were children. On the top, you have the usual Atlantis design with this piece right here, with the red and green lights to communicate with other vehicles. You also have 2 sets of lights right here, which can be moved to different angles, but they're stationary other than that. On the back, you have a canopy created with some 2x4 stickered pieces and these translucent yellow canopy pieces, which create an interesting look. You also have these metallic silver pieces on the side, which adds some more depth to the build. This can also be opened up to reveal the interior, which isn't that large. You also have a small drone in here, which I will review now. The drone is very similar to the actual build itself, representing a mini version of it with a drill on one side and the hand on the other. It has 2 propellers just like the actual thing, and an antenna to be controlled by the main vehicle. The interior also includes this crate, which if you open up just contains some extra flippers. On the back of the vessel, you have probably my favorite design part, which uses the construction canopies most seen by me in Power Miners to encase the engines that power the vehicle. On top of these, there are also flick-fire missiles, which you can flick and launch at enemies. This is repeated on both sides and creates a nice finish for the vehicle. Overall, the Deep Sea Raider is a fun set with a lot of playability. It has some great functions and fits right in with the other crazy subs that the Atlantis crew has to use. Now, for the final set and final review of this series, I'm actually going to pass it off to my brother, who's decided to help me with this video. So, now to his review.
So this here is the final set in the wave, the City of Atlantis. It is set number 7985 and has 685 pieces. Included in this set is the Angler Warrior, a Crab Warrior, 2 Diver minifigures, a large lobster, and then the vehicle for the divers. Also included is the King of Atlantis, who is currently in the big build. The first minifigure in this set is the Angler Warrior, which is really cool because of mostly this headpiece here, which is of a very neat shape. It's got a lot of detail that really makes it look like an anglerfish, especially the big teeth in the front and all the markings that you see throughout it. And like all other enemies in this series, it has a trident. The second minifigure in this set is a Crab Warrior, which once again comes with the trident. It's really neat as well, because this has a ton of different pieces attached to it. First off, there's some nice orange seaweed, which is the first time you see this. Also some spikes. All of this is also paired with the orange markings all over this guy's body. It's really cool because this man has a mouth in his torso piece. It's kind of difficult to see, but he doesn't really have a head. The head is just one big molded piece attached to the body. There's no circular piece like normal. There's also claws on these things, which are specifically made to fit on minifigure hands, and then also able to hold the trident. First minifigure in this set that's a diver is Professor Sam Rhodes. She's basically the same as she is in every other time we see her, with the fins, the spear gun, the helmet, and even her secondary face is the same as well. The second diver is Captain Ace Speedman. This edition he has a nice propeller on the back, which is adjustable, as you can see here. That's pretty neat, and then the propeller also spins. This gives him a little bit of a different look. He also has lights on the front here, and overall, really cool. His fins and, weapons and his faces are all the same, but a little neat of addition here. The final minifigure in this set is the King of Atlantis. He once again holds a golden trident, and he is completely golden. One thing I don't really like about this is that there's many different shades of gold on him. His body and the trident are one shade, his armor piece is another, and then his helmet is a third kind of duller shade of gold, but it's a pretty cool helmet. It looks, I think, like a Spartan helmet or a Roman helmet, so that's pretty neat. He has a lot of printing on him. He has printing on his legs. I think they're meant to represent pants. He also has printing on his torso that's supposed to make him look ripped. And then he has his face printed on with a beard. He also has a second face, which is much more human, which is a little interesting to see. Not entirely sure why they went for that, but usually he's kept like this. Supplementary build here is a little lobster that you have. It's pretty interesting. These claws both move here. They also close, open and close, both of them. The legs here are opposable as well. You can move them about these joints here. It has eyes that are sticking up from the top of its head, which I think lobsters technically have like 6 eyes, but it's fine. The mouth is a little weird. It is just 2 of these claws here. They can rotate and stuff, but they do a pretty good job of representing it. It overall has the black and orange color scheme that is common through most of these enemies. Also, its tail is represented by some of that orange seaweed that we first saw with the crab. So overall, pretty good. It's a nice little addition here. The final small build in this set is a medium submarine, which is actually called the Artemis. That is a sticker here that you can see, which is weird. It reminds me of the Greek goddess Artemis, but it's spelled differently. And it might have some connection because both this and the Atlantis king seem to have some sort of Greek connection with what they're wearing and what they're named. Also reminds me of Neptune Carrier, which has Neptune, which is the Roman god of the sea. The arms on this craft have a lot of range of motion as they bend in multiple places. The ball and socket joint here gives it a lot of opposability, as well as this one here. I think I'm obligated to tell you that Nico doesn't like these joints as they break a lot. I've never had an issue because I like to keep them and don't build them as much as he does. The fingers here also close, giving you the ability to grab things with these hands. There's nice lights on the front. A little insignia. It also has the flick fire missiles here, but they're kind of cumbersome as they are quite close to the edge of the body here, so maybe a little space there would have been nice. It has a propeller in the back, standard among this set, and it also has a little tower with the green and red dots, which is common throughout this build. It also weighs very little, which is quite nice. As you can see, it's mostly hollow. There's a nice large spot for 1, if not 2 people to sit in here with a little steering wheel in this cab that opens and closes. The city of Atlantis here really is more like a building, but it is still quite interesting. Up front, there's like a little courtyard area here with a lot of columns. Then you move into a staircase, which is up to the elevated building here, you can see, which looks more like it's built in the style of a Greek temple, with these columns and whatnot. And there's an area below it as well, behind the stairs and behind the rock features, which contain mostly some supports, and on one side over here contain a little gate, which is supposed to be more like a dungeon. In the center here, there is a throne room, basically, with a feature that will be seen later, and there's a little bit of chest here. And throughout the whole build, there's lots of different types of seaweed, obviously to show that it's underwater. Starting first with the courtyard here, there's a lot of functionality and play features that exist within this one. Starting with the very front row here, there's a little push pin here that when you push it, it drops an axe to act as kind of a booby trap. It's quite a simple mechanism. The axe just rides up a little bit of a slope piece behind it, as it goes, and then that allows it to fall, and that makes a nice trap. I also like the design of it. It still mirrors the temple kind of aspect with the columns and the gold and the ornate little pieces here, and honestly the golden fish on top. Columns are pretty sturdy, which is nice. And then behind it, there are a few more columns, obviously here, filled with seaweed and all that. This column here actually moves, is on a hinge joint that you can see. It's actually meant to break in a specific place right here. There's a little rod that goes through the center of all these pieces here that prevents it from breaking lower, and it can break off here, so when you're falling, you can interact with it and you can get things to actually happen. Now you may notice the build looks quite different from the last time I showed it. First off, this little thing here is hinged, and it will become apparent why later. I also removed the courtyard, which attaches here to these two little Technic pins here. The front of this build is quite nice. These rock formations are the same on both sides, which could have maybe been mixed up, but overall they look really nice. There's some stickers on them, which give it a nice rugged feel. The seaweed on them is also placed differently and in different orientations, like you can see here with this bionicle tentacle and this one here. They're in different orientations, which gives it a nice complex look. Now the main feature here is this center stair. As you can see, there is a key in here, the key to Atlantis. It is a completely new, first ever seen purple ring, and it actually fits within this little rock formation here. The nice thing about this actually is the biggest feature in the set is when you turn this feature, it raises and reveals the King of Atlantis. That hinged piece here in the back covers him up until the feature is activated. The cool thing about this is it does not work when the ring is not there. Now I have the ring out, the king does not move, and this is just free to rotate. This is because there's a little hole in the back here that grabs onto a stud or a rod in the middle of the rock, and only then can you grab it. You need the key in to turn it, which is really cool. Now onto the main portion of this structure. We first see all these columns here. I like the variation in the placement of the tan pieces to show different levels of wear and all of that. They could also be algae. There's a lot of ornate design in this chamber room over here with the gold and the fish and over the hinge piece. There's also stickers behind here representing some sort of throne. Also, there is a chest on the left side which can be open and closed. Inside are, I think, 3 crystals, red, blue, and yellow, as well as a fish, because we're underwater, of course. On the right side, there's actually a trapdoor, which you can activate by pulling on this little pin here, and it drops it. It's a nice additional trap in this set. I also really like the design of the front piece here. There's a lot of ornate detail with these studs facing in different directions and these fish, as well as the signia for Atlantis with a trident and a trident as the centerpiece on the roof. The back of this has some interesting characteristics. As you notice here, there are 2 flick fire missiles, which actually are just some of the ornate pieces on front. They can come out and act as projectiles. I'm not entirely sure why. Like I mentioned earlier, there's multiple tridents here to add to the aesthetic of the throne room. And as you can see, there's not a lot going down on the back. I like the seaweed here as an attention to detail, make sure the whole build's covered. And this mostly just houses the mechanism for raising the Atlantis King. On this left side, however, there's a nice little lock on this gate here. The gate's the standard piece, and the lock's just a sticker, and it can come off quite easily, and these gates can then open and close. I think this would be a good place to put the lobster. On the other side, there isn't much, however. Maybe it would have been a little nice if they put something below in the trap section, because the trapdoor is right above this. But other than that, I think it's really overall cool. Overall, I think this set is a great way to finish off the Atlantis series. You finally have a set that is Atlantis, the goal of all of these missions and explorations. It gives you an exciting range of enemies, from a large crab to minifigures that are new and unique in a different way. The courtyard is quite nice, and the feature I think is really awesome that you need a key to finally visit the Atlantis King, who's kind of the objective at the end here. I really like the ornateness of it as well, with all the gold and the grandeur that is associated with Greek and Roman architecture and these columns here. And I think there are a lot of ways to play with this as well, given all the features and minifigures and smaller builds. I think it's really cool. The set is called the City of Atlantis, however, so if I have one criticism for it, maybe a second build or a smaller structure or something of that nature, but highly, highly praise this set.
Those were the final 5 sets to complete the Atlantis series. While this wave contains smaller sets than the usual, each of them bring their own charm to the series with their functionality, builds, and minifigures. There may be some small issues with each, but it is clear that they continued to improve their craft as the waves went on. Ranking all of the waves in the series, my brother and I put the second one at the top of the totem pole, while the other 2, the first and the third, would remain in second. There was truly not a worse wave of the series. Each of them brought their own pluses and minuses, but there was one that stood above the rest. Atlantis was an important part of my childhood, bringing my brother and I, along with power miners, into the LEGO universe, and finding me one of my favorite hobbies to date. No matter the age of these sets, they will always be cherished. With all that said, that's going to be the end of the video. Like and subscribe if you did enjoy, comment down below your thoughts, and thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time.